Shamans from around the world have begun to gather as the Burning Legion invades Azeroth. From their new base of operations beside the Maelstrom at the heart of Azeroth, the Earthen Ring have sent heroes to locate powerful artifacts to help in the coming war. 3 powerful artifacts were tracked down, each rich in history. Doomhammer for enhancement shamans, the Fist of Ra'den for elemental, and Sharastal, Scepter of the Tides for restoration. To seal Alakir's demise, Master Ra slammed his fists into the mountaintop. The heavens split wide, and all the fire and fury they contained crashed down atop the Wind Lord's head. Ra and Helya crafted a shield, the Highkeeper's ward, to act as a key to the elemental plane. It thrummed with the energies of the 4 elements, which Ra could call upon whenever he desired. Aman'Thul, High Father of the Pantheon, often believed to be the first of the Titans to awake and begin roaming the Great Dark. It was Aman'Thul who created a mighty weapon for the Highkeeper Ra to help him in his war against the old gods of Azeroth. When the Titans arrived in the skies above Azeroth, they discovered 2 things. 1, that it was a world soul, a slumbering Titan waiting to be awoken. And second, that an infestation of old gods had taken hold of the world soul, burying their tendrils deep into the blood of Azeroth. To combat these old gods, and their minions, the Titans created the Keepers, great guardians of stone and earth. These Keepers took up the task of purging Azeroth of the old gods' influence. Ra was one of these Keepers. To battle the creatures of the Black Empire, Ra would need a powerful weapon, the Fist of Ra'den. It is not known exactly how Aman'Thul created the weapon. One legend has the Titan calling upon other celestial beings, who took lightning and shaped it into a weapon, allowing Aman'Thul to bind it and contain its powers. Regardless, it was Aman'Thul who provided Ra with the tools to wage war with the forces of the old gods. He used his mighty weapon to carve through the armies of the old gods. Eventually, Y'Shaarj was killed, ripped out of Azeroth by the Titans themselves. The old god's death shook the mountains and left behind a vast scar, the Well of Eternity. The other old gods were shackled instead, imprisoned beneath the earth and watched over by the Keepers. The old gods' most powerful servants were the elemental lords. Alakir, Ragnaros, Therazane, and Neptulon had ruled Azeroth before the coming of the old gods, and were subjugated by the old gods, becoming lieutenants of the Black Empire's armies. To dispose of these, Ra teamed up with Helya, another of the Titan Forged, to create the elemental planes. He and the other Keepers split up and imprisoned the elemental lords within the planes. A key was constructed, born of fire and earth, water and wind, the Highkeeper's Ward, a powerful shield artifact. Of the 4 elemental lords, Ra himself was tasked with taking down Alakir. Alakir's mastery of wind and lightning was matched only by that of Ra and his powerful fist. Ra and his allies chased Alakir to the top of a high mountain, and there Ra brought all his fury, his power, and the mountain itself down atop the Wind Lord's head. With the old gods and their minions dealt with, the Titans left Azeroth in the hands of the Keepers. Ra wandered the southern reaches of Azeroth, watching over the prisons of Cthulhu and the remains of Y'Shaarj, as well as his elemental planes. Then, one day, a great influx of power and memories overcame Ra. He soon puzzled out that it was Aman'Thul himself, or rather, the remaining fragments of his spirit. The Pantheon had been slain by the traitorous Sargeras. With his masters gone, Ra entered into a deep depression. He abandoned his watch, and went into seclusion to meditate. In Ra's absence, the old gods began to manipulate the Titan Forged. They laid their curse of flesh on the creatures, slowly changing them from metal and stone to flesh and blood. The Mogu were one of the races to fall victim to this curse. Confused and angered, they began to fight amongst themselves. Their civilization splintered, and eventually they entered the Age of 100 Kings. During the wars of this age, a great warlord rose to power. The Mogu, Lai Shen, promised his people that he would wake the sleeping gods that had abandoned them to the curse. Entering the Thundering Mountain, Lai Shen confronted Ra and began to bombard him with questions. Eventually, Ra showed Lai Shen the remains of Aman'Thul's spirit. Their masters were gone, and their work for naught. Lai Shen strongly disagreed. If the Titans were gone, and Ra had lost himself to despair, then it was up to him to continue the work. He surprised Ra, incapacitating him. He took Ra's weapons, imprisoned the Keeper, and absorbed the remaining powers of Aman'Thul. With those powers, Lai Shen went on to create a great Mogu empire and rule over it as the first emperor. Despite his power, however, he was unable to properly harness the volatile energies of the weapons. Their energies were too strong, overwhelming him with every use. This inability infuriated him. He passed the artifacts on to a skilled blacksmith, Deng, and demanded the Mogu unlock the weapon's secrets. Deng instead plotted to use the weapons to take the Throne of Thunder for himself. His attempt to toy with the powers of the fist, however, left him disfigured, a bolt of lightning from the sky crashing through his body, nearly killing him. Deng eventually worked out a use for the weapons. Using their power, he created the Great Thunder Forge, and was able to begin shaping weapons and armor of exceptional quality. For Lai Shen, Deng crafted the greatest weapons and armor of them all. Ages came and went, Lai Shen passed away and faded into memory, and eventually the Mogu Empire crumbled and fell. Pandarans rose in its place, their own civilization overtaking the lands of Pandaria. From them, a faction emerged, the Shadowpan. A group of these guardians eventually came across the Thunder Forge. Their leader, Master Snowdrift, took up the Fist of Rodin, and like Deng, was struck by a bolt of lightning. Like Deng, he too barely survived the crash of energy. He feared what would happen should such an energy fall into the wrong hands, and hurriedly brought the weapon and its shield counterpart to the august celestial Suin. Suin knew the history of the weapons, knew Aman'Thul had crafted them to protect Azeroth from those who would do it harm. He agreed to take the artifacts and hid them away for the day when a worthy champion would arrive to take them up and use their powers to defend Azeroth once more.